Hi friends, welcome to Canadian Cutting Edge, and today we've got another Sencut knife. That's why you're here. You wanted to see the Sencut HONORIS. I've got the wood version. It comes three ways. Wood, it's basically babinga or African rosewood. I find it hard to say the name the one that they use. Wood has so many different names sometimes for the same species. In any case, 9CR18 MOV stainless steel blade. You can also get it with the 9CR18 MOV stainless steel blade and a micarta handle scales, or you can get it with black G10 and Damascus. What's up with that? The most expensive steel with the, lowest end handle material. I don't know. Maybe, they're trying to get you to buy, the wood version and the Damascus version, and then you swap out the handle scales and make a custom one. Anyways, that's what I'd like to have done. Can't really afford it, but that's what I would have liked to have done. I want to tell you all about it. Do I like it? Do I recommend it? What's the price? Where can you buy it? All that stuff. I got mine at White Mountain Knives. I get the vast majority of my knives from White Mountain Knives because he gives me a reviewer discount. It's not a huge discount, but it's a healthy reviewer's discount. I get to tell you about White Mountain Knives offering you 10% off when you use coupon code CCE at checkout. I don't earn a commission. I get a discount when I buy the knives I want to review, and that's all I get. But you get 10% off, and that makes it the cheapest place to get most knives. There are stores in Canada that has this. Right now, I'm not sure I recommend Canadians buying knives like this from the United States if you need to have them shipped directly from the store. Thankfully, these Sencut knives are pretty close to the same price in Canada as they are in the United States, and I'll leave that information down below. Without any further ado, let's get to the tabletop and take a peekaboo. Yeah, it's November. The next video will probably have my giveaway. I do a monthly giveaway to my supporters. If you support me financially every month, your name gets put into a random draw to win one of the knives that I reviewed in the previous month. Yeah, my fingers are dirty. I was doing some sharpening before. Guess that's metal dust. Anyhow, you get to win a knife of your choice, and I'll ship it anywhere in the world. All I do is ask the winner to pay for part of the shipping to get it. I also add extra stuff in with the prize pack. The odds are pretty good. I've got right around, in the low 50s for supporters. So 12 times a year, you get a 1 in 50, 1 in 55 chance of winning. That's pretty good, especially since I've only asked like $2 US, $3 Canadian, roughly that amount of money for support every month. Like, I should be asking much more than that. It's expensive to run a YouTube channel. Oh, it's free to upload to YouTube. I hear that kind of thing sometimes from people. It's free to make videos. Well, yeah, it is. It's free to make garbage and load it up onto the internet. But if you want to make good quality stuff, it takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of effort. It takes a lot of time. It does take expense. There's a lot of expenses. I had to buy a computer last year so that I could edit the videos. Of course, the software. I could go on and on and on. It's not free to make videos. Yes, it's free to make videos, but it's not free to make videos. Anyhow, thank you to all of you who support the channel. I appreciate it a lot. It's a help. It's a real help. This knife, what do we got? Let's do a size comparison here. We've got the Ontario Rat 1 right there. And let's line up these pivot pins. It's a smaller knife. It's about the same. Well, it's a little bit thinner, not much. The Ontario Rat 1 is not terribly thick, but it's thinner and smaller in every way except for the cutting edge. You got more cutting edge with the Sencut. Like I said, it comes three ways, and those three options are quite nice. I'm quite happy with this 9CR18 MOV. It's a good Chinese budget stainless steel. The label for that is right there. I like how Sencut makes it very small. But they do have a fairly big Sencut brand name right there. At least it's not super dark. I wish it was a bit smaller, to be honest with you. But that's the extent of the badging. The 9CR18 and the Sencut right there. We've got a long sloping tip. It's a lot like a spear tip if you look at it like that. We've got a long swedge going along it, drop point here. The swedge ends a little bit before the tip. Then we've got a shallow belly, a little bit of a straight section here. High flat grind, so a nice saber grind. There is some flat sections on here, to clamp onto if you want to use a guided sharpening system. They put a gray finish on here and then stonewashed it. I'm very happy with this gray stonewash finish. It's a black titanium coating for the liners, highly skeletonized, for the hardware, for the pocket clip. Yeah, it looks quite nice. There are some pictures of these where the wood is a lot lighter color. Now, I think I would have preferred that, but this is okay. Now, this feels like, to me, it's natural wood with just a sealer on it. They didn't use any stains or anything on this wood. It's just got a sealer on it. It's not a hard or durable sealer. I wouldn't mind putting better sealing coats on here, but it's wood. You can see a little bit of the milling lines, but for the most part, this chamfer along here is very smooth, as it is, all the way around. So they did a good job on that. You can see the grain of the wood in there. It's beautiful. At least I think it's beautiful. And yes, since I've been carrying it, I carry and use and test all my knives. There are some, scratch lines in the finish. I'm not sure if I can get the light just right to catch it on camera. Right there's a couple scratch lines that go across. It happens. Now, these handle scales could be taken off and very, very lightly sanded. You sand this too much and you're going to make it too thin, and then, the screws aren't going to fit. Sencut uses T8 screws for the most part, except for the flush screws in the pocket clip. At least those have a little bit of depth. They tend to be pretty good. They don't, bind or anything, so I haven't had a problem taking Sencut or Civivi, pocket clips off. Of course, there's an option to put on the other side as well. But these screws here are T8 and they're flush. They're not recessed button screws. I hate recessed button screws. It looks ugly. This nice flush screws. The pivot screws got a little bit of a crown to it. Also a T8. Let's just take a look and see how good the tolerances are. So the driver gets in there and there's almost no wiggle at all in that one. Same thing there. Same thing there. They are nice, high tolerance screws, so that's a good thing indeed. Let's talk a little bit about the business area right here, the pivot. We've got ball bearings in there, and I will tear it down to show it to you. But what we've got for deployment, we've got a flipper tab that's got jimping up all the way around it, so it's got good texture, good grip. Light switch method works just great. Pulling it from the side works just great as well. And this big hole, even though it's chamfered and softened in there, you can use almost any of your fingers to deploy it. Use your index finger if you want to, even your ring finger if you want to. It's a nice hole for deploying the blade. It also helps lighten the blade a bit. So yeah, you've got good deployment options. Lockup, it's exactly where I like it to be on a brand new knife. So that's a good thing. There's a little bit of jimping on the top. A bit of a cutaway here. It's easy to get at that lock bar to release it, to close the knife every time. So that works great. Right or left-handed, not a problem. So very happy with that. And no blade play side to side, up and down. Pocket clip time. Let's take a look. We've got a deep carry pocket clip. It's got lots of lighting features on it, and it just works. It's a little bit ugly. Yeah, it's a little bit ugly for a pocket clip, but it works quite well. And the texture on it helps you get your thumb on there to pull it out. So I'm happy enough with that. It's not a big problem. It's an okay pocket clip. Starting to show a little bit of wear on it. Yeah, but that's fine. Good retention. It's a decent clip. Nothing special, but it's okay. Back here, we've got an open pillar construction and a little lanyard pin right there. If you like lanyards, that's my favorite way of having it done on pocket knives like this. I don't tend to use lanyards, so it does nothing. It's not in my way, but those of you who want it, it comes out the back. It's shielded by those hourglass-shaped pins so that your paracord doesn't get all tore up. That's the best way, in my opinion, to do lanyard attachment. So really, really nice. Are there any cons on this thing? Well, there's always some cons. On this guy, it was poorly sharpened. Yeah, we hear that every day. And the sharpener's choil is too small. We hear that most days. It's very, very common these days for knife companies to make sharpener's choils that, they just don't come up to the end of the plunge. Now this looks like it's a very quick little plunge, but if you take a close look at the steel there, you know, the steel, that line where it was sharpened, you know, the bright colored line, it's thin, it's thin, it's thin, and then right at the heel there, it goes wide again, and that's because the steel here is getting thick right there. And why is it getting thick? Well, because it's transitioning to the full thickness of the ricasso. That sharpener's tool should be bigger. If I increase the size myself, well, then I'm going to have a shiny spot in that whole area. So chances are I would leave it alone until I've sharpened it a few times and I'm getting into that plunge area, and then I would just make the sharpener's tool bigger. So that's that. Are there any other cons with it? Not really. The detent's good. Holds on just like it should. You know, shake the blade, the knife, the blade does not come out. A lot of good stuff there. The balance point right there, I like that. Let's turn it over this way. There you go. Yeah, I'd prefer if it was a little bit further that way, but not bad. There's a lot of skeletonizing in there. And what's the price of this knife? Well, it depends on where you go shopping. White Mountain knives. Well, let's talk about that option first. This one is $46. You take off 10%, that makes it $41.40 US. The micarta version is a little bit less, $45. Take off 10%, that's $40.50 for that one. The Damascus and G10 version is $68.50. Take off 10%, makes it $61.65. So there you go, good prices. If you want to buy it from Amazon, yeah, you can buy it from Amazon. I'll leave a referral link down below. It's going to cost you a little bit more money. If you're in Canada, at least on the day I'm recording this, and I'm recording this on October 31st, and hopefully I can get it ready to be released on the 1st of November, maybe the 2nd, we'll see. At least on October 31st, there's a 15% off sale at House of Knives. They've got all 3 models at almost the same price. I've got other discount codes down below the video, in the video description, for other places where you get things like really nice screwdriver bits and other tools and stuff, and places to buy knives. So there you go. Let's take this thing apart and show you how it's constructed. I told you what I thought was the main con about this knife being the small sharpener's choil. The second thing that Sencut doesn't do is they don't do a stopped pivot pin. This is a free spinning pivot pin. Now, I had no problem taking it apart with just one screwdriver, but it is a free spinning pivot pin, and that's what you've got. Other than that, look at all the skeletonizing. Lots of skeletonizing on both of the liners. And here's that tiny little pin that you have for the lanyard. Ceramic ball bearings, very nicely done in phosphor bronze cages. There is a little bit of Loctite on this main pivot screw. The other screws are very high quality, well-made screws. There's no Loctite on there. So, well made, good construction. The weight of this knife, 86 grams. That's 3.03 ounces. Pretty light. Sharpness from the factory, not so good. 220 bes. The cutting edge length, 89.9 millimeters, 3.54 inches. The blade length, tip to the closest spot on the handle, 87.4 millimeters, 3.44 inches. The thickness of the blade on the flat area, 2.93 millimeters, 0.1155 of an inch, so a bit under 1/8 of an inch. Blade depth, the widest point is right about where my fingertips are right now, my index fingers, 25.3 millimeters, 0.997 of an inch. How thin is it behind the grind? Measured in 3 places, the average is 0.37 millimeters, 14.5 thousandths of an inch. Now that's good. That's very good. Every time you sharpen a knife, it'll get thicker, but if it starts out nice and thin, that's good. It's not too thin for this steel for most uses of this knife. The grind angles, well, here's where we have a little bit of trouble. This side's got a grind angle average of 26.1 degrees. This side's got an average of 24.1 degrees. This side started at 25.1, ended at 23.2, 2.1 degrees of change along the length. This side started at 25.3 degrees up here and ended at 26.9 degrees. That's 1.6 degrees of change. So it's just a little too big of an angle. It needs to be shallower. This steel fun for ODYSEE purposes, like not super hard use, like not any impact kind of use. Certainly not, trying to use it as a chopper or anything. 16, 17 degrees per side would be just fine. I suspect most guys in the know would sharpen it to about 18 degrees. Back to the measurements, the rest of the information. The handle length, 112.7 millimeters, 4.44 inches. The grip area between my thumbs, it's about 9.5 centimeters, about 3 3/4 inches. That's plenty for most hands. And the handle thickness on the flat surface of the wood here, not counting the pocket clips, 11.9 millimeters, which is 0.467 of an inch. The handle depth, the widest point within the grip is actually right back here, 23.4 millimeters, 0.92 of an inch. When the knife is closed, is it widest here? No, it's actually widest right here, 32.8 millimeters, 1.29 inches. The total length of this thing, rounded to the nearest millimeter, it's 200 millimeters long. That's 7.87 inches. Well, it's time for the conclusion, final thoughts, all that kind of stuff. And I've sharpened it now. Look at that beautiful mirror edge. Didn't have to do a mirror edge, but I wanted to see how well it would cut if I made it sharp. Oh, it's a little bit wet still there. Yeah, I'll clean that up later on. It cuts very, very well now. It's great. Very thin, very stabby. You got enough protection from, the flipper that turns into a guard. As long as you don't, pry with it or anything, because it's a bit thin at the tip. But that blade, it cuts, it slices very, very well when it's properly sharpened. And yeah, it did make a little bit of a mess up here at the sharpener's toil, but this is a good knife. I'm very happy with it. Lightweight, this pivot section here, right in there where all the business goes on. It's well designed, very well made. It works like a charm. This is a good knife design, and you get good choice for materials. I'm very happy with that. If you're looking for a knife, of this kind of size, almost 3.5 inches in the blade, just the tiniest hair over 3 ounces, and you don't need a heavy-duty knife, this might be the knife that you want to get. Thanks to my supporters again. You guys are just stunning. I appreciate it very much. And to everyone watching this video, please leave a comment. It really does help if you leave a comment. And remember, friends, always cut towards your chum, not your thumb.